the real net profit I make after paying myself a decent salary? And how much work can I take on before I burn myself out? Those are two questions we get asked all the time by architectural practice owners. And we've worked with over 100 architectural practices in the last few years, all over the world. And the questions are just the same. My name's Ray Brown. I'm CEO of Archibiz. And really the answer to these questions are quite straightforward. But you need to understand two things. You need to understand your profit and loss account, and you need to understand capacity. So if we look at the profit and loss, first of all, architectural business, as I said, is very simple. Buy hours, sell them in the marketplace. And the profit and loss looks something like this. It looks like sales, excluding sales tax. So if you've got GST or VAT, don't include that. So let's say it's 300,000. And then we've got expenses, salaries and rent, utilities, other expenses. And that salaries has got to include a proportion for you as a practice owner. You should be paid rate for the job. You need to account for that. How your accountant tells you to take the money out of the business is a different question to be tax efficient. But when we're looking at the profitability of the business, you have to pay for the work that the practice owner is doing. So it needs to be included in that salary number. So we've got total expenses, 270 here, and a profit of 30,000. Now, percentages are actually quite important in looking at profit and loss. So here we've got 100%, sales is always 100%, expenses are 90, and we make a profit of 10%. Now, we encourage you to look at this every single month. In fact, we'd encourage you to almost look at it before the month begins as a forecast of what you're going to do during the month. And then you can track your time and your activities during the month and making sure you do invoice that predicted amount. 10% is okay, but we would say that a good architectural practice should target between 15 and 20% net profit after all expenses. We do have clients who are at 25 and 30%, but they tend to be in a particular market where they get really good prices and not the normal run-of-the-mill architectural practice. But 15 to 20% is definitely doable. So don't wait till the end of the year to find out what your accountant tells you you've made during the year. Don't manage your business by cash. This is not cash. This is invoicing and expenses. Expenses that you've incurred in the month and revenue that you've created in the month. Sometimes you may not be able to put out the invoice, but you can say, we've created this amount of value in the month. And if we're sending out the invoice, it would equate to this number, whether it be 300,000, 3 million or 30,000. The numbers all stack up exactly the same. When we look at the capacity question, this is really about how much work can you actually do in your practice? And it's really important to understand the theory behind this. So in this practice, we've got 6 employees, principals, project architects and graduates. They work 38 hours a week, typically. The graduate only works 20. And we've got what we call a utilisation percentage. This is the amount of time that can be billable for each individual person on average. And the principal may be out getting work, attending functions, whatever it is, might even mean playing golf occasionally with clients, but they're not on the tool, so they can't count that time as productive time that we can turn into revenue. So 40% of their time, 70% a project architect, possibly a graduate higher at 80%, possibly even 90%. So the available billable hours that are available to the practice are 38 plus the percentage to give you this one here. And that then we need to look at the charge out rate. So what would a principal or an architect expect to get per hour in the marketplace? Now, this is not some grand calculation. This is simply a market rate. What would you expect to get per hour for a principal or a project architect on a relatively normal type job? If you're 10% out either way, so what? It still gives you an idea what the earning capacity is of that person over the week. So here we've got 38 hours, 40% utilisation, 15 times the billable rate, gives us a weekly potential earning of 3,420, and we've got a number for all of the staff coming up with 23,268 for the week. And that, and a monthly equivalent is 100,750. Now, what we find in most practices is that the actual billings on average is much lower, say 75,000. So there is a prize here of 23,750. The difference between the time that's available, okay, and we've depreciated it by the utilisation percentage, and the average billings that we're doing each month. So what is the difference between that 100,000 and the 75,000? Well, it's only one thing. It's inefficiency of some type. It can be inefficiency of pricing, you're not charging enough. It can be you're not getting through the work quick enough. You're doing 20 hours on a task that should only take 10 hours. So if you can chip away at that 23,750, make the business more efficient. The question was how many projects can we do to avoid burnout? Well, we can actually, if we run the practice properly, we can do 100,000 a month. So these are just two really important questions that you need to understand and have the answer to as a practice owner. And we at Archibus spend our time, none of us are architects, so we spend our time thinking about how to make architectural practices more efficient and more profitable. We've got what we call the Business School for Architects on the school platform at school.skool.com/Archibus. And we've got a number of different programs that can help. So please reach out, please join the Business School, it is free, and ask us any questions. We'll be delighted to help you make your practice more efficient, more profitable, and just a more fun place to be.